Welcome back to my channel. Today we have 10 stories of Jinn. So sit back, turn off your lights, and enjoy. Number 1. The Fight. One time, my mother-in-law was sitting in her bed. She looked over and saw a woman sitting in the chair next to her bed with long, pointy fingers and a face with very sharp angles. She was so frustrated and annoyed with the jinns. They see a lot of them in their house and are no longer afraid, just really annoyed by them, that she reached out and grabbed the jinn by its wrist. She yelled, "Get out! I'm tired of you. Get out!" It started to try to pull its wrist away and eventually tried to bite her hand because she wouldn't let go. She pulled her hand away before it bit her, and then the jinn vanished. Number 2. The Jinn and the Locket. At my boarding school, we had a few cases of bullying. In one instance, a bully broke a chain on a student's neck. As soon as that happened, the girl started to speak in a male voice, while her body contorted in a strange position. It said it was a jinn and had traveled from a far-away place. Meanwhile, the bully's tongue swelled and almost prevented her from breathing. Long story short, teachers were called into the room. Apparently, her parents knew and had gotten the chain for their daughter from a shaman to hold the jinn in. Number 3. Communing with children. This happened when my grandfather was Egypt's ambassador to Spain and was living in Spain. I was 2 years old at that time. My mother said she would see me standing by the staircase, talking to someone, and when she would put me to bed, I would stare out the door and say, "Tick tock, tick tock." Later on, my grandmother mentioned to my mom that she thinks I might be seeing spirits in the house. And when we were talking about it, my grandfather said the TV in his room turned on and off, and sometimes could see shadows running across the balcony through the slits of the blinds. My grandmother said that it's known little children and animals can see spirits. So when they saw me talking to someone or something, they assumed there were spirits in the house, and I was the only one who could communicate with them. Number 4. Hooves. This is an old Persian story. One day, a lady goes to the public bathhouse. She pays the attendant and goes inside. Once inside, she notices someone in the room with her. She looks down at their feet, but instead of feet, the person has hooves. The lady freaks out and runs outside as fast as she can. She rushes to the attendant and tells her that she saw someone with hooves instead of feet. The attendant looks at her, lifts up her skirt, and asks, "Like these?" Number 5. the busybody. I grew up in an Arab household with many Arab family members and friends, so I have heard many scary jinn stories. A family friend of mine claimed that she went to bed one night and her whole house was a mess. By the time she woke up, her whole house was clean. For some reason, that freaked me out when I was little. Every night, I made sure that my room was clean so that jinns wouldn't clean it for me. Nowadays, being a wife and a full-time college student, I could only pray that a jinn would clean my house for me. And what the heck, cook dinner as well. Number 6. The Night Whispers. A few years ago, when I was on my 3rd trimester of pregnancy, I would only be able to fall asleep when dawn came. Just as I was about to fall asleep one night, I felt pressure on the end of the bed, near my feet, as if someone very heavy sat on the bed, which was weird because I didn't even hear anyone come into the room. No creaking door, no footsteps. Just then, an eerie voice spoke straight into my mind. The language was unintelligible and distorted. I knew it wasn't human, but to my surprise, I understood what it was trying to say. My brain processed it easily, as if I had learned the language somewhere in the past. It asked me to pray my morning prayer. I was too sleepy and too scared to actually open my eyes. What if its face was suddenly right in front of my nose? So I responded in my head, communicating without actually opening my mouth to say a word. Later, please. I am so tired. I didn't get to sleep. After I said so, the weight on the end of my bed lifted. The air, which was previously heavy with presence, became light and clear. I opened my eyes a little and saw the earliest morning light gleam through my window. My door stood still. No one came in or out. I fell back to sleep. Number 7. The Landlord. So apparently, in Saudi, my aunt lived in a house that was always being visited by a particular jinn who used to annoy her family. When she was laying in bed at night with her husband, she felt that something was off, and when she left the room, she found her husband watching TV on the couch. When they went back to the bedroom to confront the jinn, it just laughed and went away. Number 8. Mr. Fantastic. My uncle once told me a story about a couple. The husband used to work in the force, so he would be sent on long trips outside the village. His wife was usually lonely, but she befriended a man. He would sit on her courtyard wall with his back facing her, so she could only see his face when he turned around to answer back. It was a sweet friendship. One evening, she asked him to come over for a tea, and to bring his wife along with her. But instead of getting down and using the door, he took his leg and stretched it 10 feet down her wall to her side of the yard. He said, "Why didn't you offer me tea before? I would love to come and have chai with you." Number 9. The husband. My friend was staying in the north of Morocco for the summer. One morning she woke up with a big triangle of henna on her hand. She showed it to every person of her family, and they said the only valid reason was that she was married to a Jinn now. She was never lucky in love ever since. Number 10. The Territorial Gym. My great uncle went to visit his cousins in India. His cousins told him that since it was summertime, they would all sleep in the courtyard together. However, they told him he wasn't allowed to place his bedding in a particular corner because a Jinn slept there, and strange things happened if anyone disturbs that corner. My great uncle said it was nonsense and decided to sleep there anyway. One night he woke up on the other side of the court. He laughed at first and thought it was his cousins who were pranking him, and decided to sleep there again. The following night, the same thing happened. So he left a note next to his pillow saying, "Stop pranking me. I know there is no Jinn." That night, he said he was pushed off his bed and his bedding was thrown on the other side. A note was thrown into his lap, which said, "I sleep here." And the scary part is, it wasn't that dark, and there was no one there. That brings us to the end of this episode of the Witching Hour Wagon. More bone-chilling and terrifying stories are on their way soon. And as always, you can send your own scary story to the email below. So subscribe and press that like button. Thanks for tuning in. Be wary and take care, because something wicked is always on its way.